Hello and welcome to this Jane's Weather Update. It is Friday the 20th of June. What do we have today? We've got a big weather system coming into the western parts of the country, the second big one this week. We've got high pressure over the southeast. There is some low cloud fog trapped under that, but most of it is looking quite clear now, and there are sunny days ahead before the next weather system arrives. There's also onshore winds coming into Queensland, so we've got just a bit of cloud activity that's coming in through there. Let's have a look at day by day at the weather system that is coming through. So here's the big one over in the west today. Let me move my head out of the way. So here we have Friday down there. There is the legend, but also you'll be able to see as I move over what the numbers are. So here, south of Perth, 15 to 25. Here, 25 to 50 millimetres right on the coast. Tapering off as it goes inland. So here's the weather system by tonight, a nice cut-off low that is driving all of this. So a big, strong cold front coming in. That's what we're expecting today. Let's move into Saturday. Here is more. The cold front now all the way out through here. The low still back here. So falls still continue to come in, and look how far they spread inland. So there's another great system for the west. That is 25 to 50 just off the coast there, 15 to 25, and 5 to 10 through all of those inland parts. Nice falls for the south coast now too, as that low is moving in. But we've got high pressure here. So I'll go back to Friday. There it is, pretty much over Sydney. There we are. Saturday, the same thing. Sunday, it is moving out to the east by then. So I've got high pressure for the next couple of days there across the weekend. Here we are into Sunday. Here's the cold front now. Now you'll notice the trajectory. As we're coming into the west, it was moving this sort of way. Then it was here. Now it is here. So that is now starting to slide, and that is literally what it's going to do across the southeast here, because the high pressure is out to the east, and that is essentially acting as a block, a stop sign, and saying, nope, you can't come through. You've got to slide on by. So that trajectory there means southeastern parts of South Australia get a little bit. Let's watch it move through on Monday. I'll come back to that one in a second. So here we have Monday. Have a look at the pattern there. You'll see it's all north of the ranges because it is sliding across the southeast. It's northern Tasmania. It is western parts of Tasmania. Really, it's that northwestern corner. It's not the southeast. It's not Gippsland. It's not the Melbourne area. All of these parts here are on the dry side of the ranges. Not heavy falls with this one because it is sliding on through. Okay, let's go back one. Here we have Sunday. In behind here, here's the low now down to the south. There's another system, another cold front that is in through here, which is why we're seeing those big falls along that southern coastline of WA. Let's watch what that one is going to do. As we move into Monday, here it is now here, back from South Australia, crossing the Bight, heading that way. Trajectory looking like this, so not sliding yet. Now look. High pressure well out of the way. It's off the map. Here's the original front that is sliding on through. Let's have a look at Tuesday. And there we go. There's the big falls for the southeast. The pattern is a very typical one for something coming in from the west, where it moves along the ranges. The ranges really help increase those rainfalls. You're looking at western slopes of New South Wales, extending right up into the north here, but not the east. That's the dry side of the ranges. Not for Gippsland either, particularly central and east, but yes, into western parts of Gippsland. Here into the southwest, and then it naturally tapers off as it moves inland further. But that's a nice little system coming through. In Tasmania, it's the north, it is the west, it is not the southeast. This is Tuesday. Let's have a look at Wednesday. That continues there. Now the cold front is all the way out through here. It's working its way up the east coast with another cold surge. And in behind that, we've got all from the southwest of Victoria up into the northeast. It's the western slopes, seeing a little bit on that coastline now, a little bit in Gippsland. Western parts of Tasmania, not really the east because it's coming in from this direction now. All right, so that is Wednesday. We'll also keep an eye on what's happening up here. So another out-of-season rain system potentially brewing. What's happening over in the west? Here's the next high pressure system. We'll watch that one start to move eastward. So here we have Thursday, broad and over the middle of the country there. Next system coming into the west doesn't look strong at this stage. This bit of rain is brewing, something to keep an eye on. Here in the southeast, it's the remains of this particular system as the high is starting to come in. Heading into Friday, that high is now here. Things are happening up in the northeast. Not very much for this one here. Very broad high that is literally right across the country there. So that's not going to allow anything big to come through either for the southwest or into the southeast. All right, let's go one more day into Saturday. There's that one there. Might be seeing something brewing in there, maybe brewing up in through here. And here is some rain and extending right through that western part of northwestern part of Queensland. So that is on the horizon there. Let's have a look at what that adds up to. Now, I've got this through to Friday night, so it doesn't include that far western surge because that's more than a week away, but there's some pretty decent out-of-season rainfalls there. The totals here, let me just put my little thing on. Totals here, 25 to 50, 15 to 25, and then that 10 to 15 mark all through those inland areas, right through to Kalgoorlie. That's where we go underneath 5 millimetres. Along that southern coastline as well, because we're hit by the west and then we're hit by the southwest. So both of those coasts get it. Skipping over to here, we get nice falls here in southeastern parts of South Australia, 25 to 50 around the Adelaide area. We've got that along the coastline here in the southwest. We've got bigger falls up in the ranges, rain, then snow for alpine areas, less as we go through Gippsland, but nice falls in that western bit that has been missing out because this comes in from the west and then the southwest. Nice falls over in the western parts of Tasmania, but not making it through to the east, not making it through to the east here. All right, so that's the outlook over the next week. Let's sum that up into a weekly pattern. So here we have what the Euro is saying for next week. It starts on the 23rd of June. It is thinking that rainfall is coming into, so right through to Monday the 30th. That has that rainfall coming into the northeastern parts of the country. And have a look at this over the southeast. Isn't that lovely, seeing all of that green across in through here? No, not the southeastern parts of Tasmania, wrong wind direction, and no, not as you head further inland. Does the Bureau agree? Yes, they do. So let me just bring randomly, my head has moved off the screen. Lovely for the western parts of Tasmania, yes, through these southeastern bits here. So a nice top-up system coming through. Not as significant as the long weekend one, but this is looking pretty decent. And it's from Monday. Monday's the warm-up. It's not the real thing. Tuesday, Wednesday, they're the main days for that. So that's what we're looking at in through there. This one doesn't pick this up. It goes right through to the 30th of June. However, let's have a look at week 2. Now we are in the first week of July. You'll notice there's a fair bit of brown that has come back across this map, particularly in the southeast. Instead, maybe the signal is here on the east coast. That is southeast Queensland, the eastern parts of New South Wales to the ranges, not beyond. That's now the dry side of the ranges. So it looks like we're going to have an onshore airflow there, blocking things from coming to the rest of the southeast. We do potentially have something coming in from the northwest there, so that's something to keep an eye on. When we see this come in, where does it go after that? So not in week 2, but week 3 and beyond, where might that end up? Is it a southwestern WA thing, or is it a southeastern South Australia? Southeastern South Australia, yes, but southeastern parts of the country. All right, having a look at the Bureau's falls here. This one, they've got it later, so 1st to the 7th of July. So likely to see something in northeast Queensland, but they've got it pegged slightly later. In the southeast here, they like some falls in western parts of Tasmania. They're also picking up on that east coast system that is coming in there and potentially into this one as well. So that's what we're looking at for week 2. All right, let's have a look at the sea surface temperature anomaly, and we have a look at our boxes. We have a look at what's happening around Australia, Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean. Now, the Indian Ocean over the past couple of days has exploded in blue. Now, this is very exciting if you like rain over southern parts of the country, because that is the great precursor to that imbalance in the Indian Ocean happening. Looking at the moment, lots and lots of yellow across the whole thing. But the blue and these purples, they have suddenly grown a lot, and that is what we like to see. I'll come back to that in a sec. Over in the Pacific Ocean box, there is a little bit more yellow that's coming out of that one. There's a hint of blue. It's a very neutral box. Off the coast of Queensland here, though, we've got all of these warm oranges and reds, so that is our own personal local source of moisture. So ENSO, Pacific Ocean, overall neutral, but we have our own personal source of moisture. We've also got the Indian Ocean that is starting to rapidly change. So let's go to that one first of all. Now, in this one here, there is an uptick there. No, we're not heading back into this. I just showed you how that exploded in blue over the last couple of days. This here is updated once a week. That was back on the 15th. So that was the little lull we saw in it last week. But now in the next one, I would expect that to be heading down based on what we've seen on that pattern today. That signifies that, yes, we are heading rapidly towards that negative Indian Ocean dipole. When we see this dip under here, that encourages all of that moisture to come in from the northwest. Just like we see in week 2, perhaps seeing that signal come there. Where does that rain end up going? Where it ends up going is where the low pressure systems move through. And if you're in the path of one of those, then you are golden. So this is the moisture part of that rainfall equation. It doesn't tell us where that moisture is going to go. Is it the southwest that gets it or the southeast? But this means we've got lots of moisture to play with. Having a look at the Pacific Ocean, nothing much to see here. It is very neutral, predicted to say very neutral. So Pacific, not doing anything for us. It's not sending it here. It's not moving away. We have our own local source of moisture off the coast of Queensland and also the incredibly warmer than average Tasman Sea. All right, let's do a bit of a whip around the country. Now, I might move my head out of the way there. Let's go. I don't know. Let's go here. Friday. So here we are starting in Brisbane, 6 millimetres over the course of the next week. We're not meant to get rain at this time of year. We get it when we have some onshore wind. So moving into Saturday, there is a chance of showers. It is not bringing much. As we move into Sunday, not bringing much. Monday, not bringing much. And Tuesday, not bringing much. And then we go back to a fairly dry period for the next couple of days. 24's in there. You'll also notice that when we have those showers coming in, we've got onshore winds. There's a bit more moisture back in the atmosphere, which let's go through to today. You can see the dew point back up on 12, so it's not feeling quite as chilly. That's not down around the freezing mark anymore. That is how much moisture is in the air. Moisture means we don't get those cold overnight lows, so it's going to be looking a little bit better as we move through. All right, so that's for Brisbane. Having a look at Sydney, here we go. We have got sunshine across the weekend. We've got those cold nights continuing, frosty over in the western part. So that's right through to Monday morning. Then conditions change as we're going to Tuesday. A huge jump up there next to a change in the wind, but also more moisture coming back into it with this one coming through. Then the moisture kicks out completely and you get the colder daytime temperatures that follow with that one. So the change in Sydney is due on Tuesday. Heading to Melbourne, we're about the 16 during the afternoon. Heaps of sunshine, just some very wispy high cloud through there. And that is the pattern for the weekend. Cold start, struggling to thaw out during the day, a lovely afternoon, at least for this time of year, lots of sunshine. Heading to Sunday, the northerly wind starts to pick up, and so that means we've got a little bit more cloud. It's not an amazing amount of cloud, but we've got that wind picking up, so it's no longer as cold as we go into Monday morning. That's as that cold front is sliding across Victoria. What's it doing here, south of the ranges? Not a lot. In fact, there's no precipitation there at all on the dry side of the ranges. Yes, there will be some rain if you are north of Divine or over in the southwest. That picks up into a gusty northerly wind. Temperatures skyrocket. Could we possibly reach 20 degrees? It is a slight chance. It'll be amazing at this time of year. And then it rapidly changes. So also, that 20 won't feel pleasant thanks to that gusty northerly wind. But here we are into Tuesday. Let's just expand this one out. This model has it early. That's most likely not going to happen. Instead, this is when the consensus of all the weather models have that wet weather pushing through. So it starts in the afternoon and evening. Here we are Wednesday. Here we are Thursday. We've got the cold temperatures to go with it. Now, 3, that's 1.6 to 3. The biggest day is likely to be Wednesday. That's 0.8 to 14 millimetres. So still a big range, but at least they all have something that's coming in there, and there's the potential for some good falls. It'll be better falls east of the bay rather than over in the west, thanks to the wind direction. And then into Thursday, just the dregs remaining out of there, drying up on Friday. Let's have a look at Adelaide. Pretty nice falls moving through here. Not at the moment. We're in the sunshine with the high moving through. We're at 19s, 19s, 21 on Sunday. Let's jump to here. There's the chance of wet weather there. Let's move that out. So that is that first little system coming across that has lost its oomph. It's about to slide across the southeast, so not the big falls that we saw over in the west. So that's on Sunday afternoon. Let's move into Monday. That's when things change. This one has a really direct hit on the southeastern parts of South Australia. 43 millimetres is the average across all the models across this period here. So let's unpack when that is coming. Monday afternoon into evening, and look at that, 80s, 60s. So all of the models are in agreement that by Monday evening it is here. 10 millimetres, 5 to 18 is the range. Tuesday, 15 to 40 millimetres is the range, averaging out at 23. A lot of that activity in through here starting to taper off, but still plenty of that coming in, but it's just not as intense. Heading into Wednesday, 5 millimetres is the average. I've got the dregs of that coming through on Thursday. So it is looking quite wet in Adelaide and southeastern parts of South Australia for the majority of next week. But it is Tuesday really, later Monday, that the main event is coming. Having a look over in Perth, so the main event is here today, 15 to 25, 19 is the average. That's a nice tight spread. We like that. All of the models agree. Not there this morning, moving in this afternoon and evening. So it'll be some proper rain as it comes through. Heading into Saturday, that continues. It increases as the day goes on, and there is the risk of thunderstorms in this one too. Tapering off later, 13 to 30 millimetres. Heading into Sunday, we've got the dregs of that left over, and then hardly anything at all by Monday. Now, after that, we saw all of the action goes over to the southeast of the country, and these guys dry out. Temperatures around 19, low 20s as we go through each day with some chilly nights in there as well. As always, head to janesweather.com for the latest information. I'll see you next week.